some noisy shoes, aren't they? I'm a very happily married man. I adore my wife, and I consider myself lucky enough to get to see her naked on a semi-regular basis. I'm not a machine, honey. Thank you for getting that. I did know her for about 5 years before we got married, and in that time, I found out, first of all, on the day that I met her, that she was married to another man. Kind of a bummer. But over that time period, we got to know each other pretty well, became pretty good friends, which is great. I also saw her continue to be married to the guy and have a baby with him, and then split up with him. And then I pounced on her like a wolf on a rabbit and pestered the shit out of her until she finally relented and conceded defeat and decided to go on a date with me, which was great. It helped that we were already friends. It was, what do you know, friends first, that shit works. So that was great. And that also meant that I was going to become a stepdad, which is not necessarily as exciting as it sounds. I grew up in my own sort of twistedly forked family tree of a house myself. I had an older brother who was the stepson of my mom, and 2 sisters that were his full siblings that were my half-sisters that lived with their own mom, whose mom also had 3 other kids. So I had a brother who had a brother that was not my brother. Good times. So, my mom and my brother, who are only 12 years apart, so my mom was 22 and he was almost 10 when she became his stepmom. So I'm sure she was like, what the fuck is going on? So, partly because of that, and I also think partly because she's kind of a bitch, and he's kind of a dick when he's not being an asshole, they didn't really get along. I was like oil and water. They did not get along well at all. And I was bound and determined to not sort of let that happen to my stepson. We had the advantage of he was only about 2 when his parents split up, which is not ideal for him. But it worked out for me, because he never really remembers me not being a part of his life, or his parents being together, which is another sad thing. But use that to my advantage, and I was bound and determined to not let that sort of sour thing happen. But he is a great kid most of the time, but he's got a short fuse and a really bad temper, like his mom. And he can be extremely defiant, which I could not relate to at all, because as a kid I was the complete opposite. My dad told me, "You're the most latest back baby I ever saw." That's a really good impression of my dad if you don't know him. But so I was a really chill kid, and he's a little hyper, and I'm sure that's somewhat normal. But I'm also thinking that just the fact that he has to live in 2 households that are completely different, with very different rules. Like at our house we have limits and we say no, and there are chores, and at his dad's house it's like fucking Disney World, where play video games till the wee hours of 10 p.m. and the juicy juice flows like water, and you let your 5-year-old watch Ghost Hunters? Seriously? Seriously? Yeah. Yeah, so I'm sure that dichotomy sort of fucked up his head a little bit, and I can say that, by the way. I'm fully capable of making that assumption because I do have a bachelor's degree in psychology, thank you. So I'm going to take a little detour here. I'll keep all that in your brain, and I'm going to talk about some other stuff, and it'll come around and make sense in a minute. But I'm also a bit of a pack rat. I like to keep things, not necessarily things that are useful. I keep things that work that I don't need just because I think it's a waste to throw something out that's still good, right? But I don't like Craigslist. But I also keep things of sentimental value, and things that are completely useless but mean something to me. For example, I go to a lot of concerts, so it's fairly normal. People keep their concert ticket stubs, but I've went to like 600 shows. It's kind of a problem. But music means the world to me, so that's kind of a significant haul, right? Another example, I have made a box, usually a shoebox, of every girlfriend I've ever had, with little... What? That's not that creepy. I'm talking like age 12 to age 19 here, okay? And there weren't a lot of them. So just like dates, receipts from dates, and like love notes and cards and stupid shit, maybe some knickknacks, maybe a condom wrapper or 2. But I would also like document things like when and where our first kiss was. Just little detailed things. I like to be able to reminisce, and I like details. I also started writing songs as a hobby in college, and I was a DJ at a campus radio station. I spent a lot of my time there, mostly off air, working on my own stuff, just fucking around on a reel-to-reel machine, and having a good time. And I would keep detailed records of all these songs that I'd written, and handwritten lyrics, and way before digital revolution, and dates of when they were recorded, when they were written, and all this other bullshit. Stuff that really meant a lot to me. And for a sap like me, when you live in an apartment that completely burned down to the ground, and you lost everything you own, about 10 years ago, which happened. I don't recommend that. It kind of was like the suck of all sucks. But, I lost my train of thought there. I got a little emotional. One thing that survived the fire, sort of accidentally, was this plate that I had. Like my mom had, when I moved out on my own for the first time, which was a couple years before I moved here, she'd given me our set of dishes from when I was a teenager, our family set of dishes. Now they were these completely plain, generic white, the Corel, Snowflake, whatever the hell they're called. I don't even know if they still made them, but she gave me that set of dishes, and they all melted except for the one that I had at work. That was my work meal dish. So I sort of glommed onto that and sort of held onto that as my symbol of all this stupid shit that I had lost, that I missed, that's completely useless except to my brain. And even when I got married and my stepson was like, why the hell does Chris get his own plate? And everybody else, every time we have a meal, it's nice plate, generic little white, smaller, differently shaped plate. And you never know how much he understands when you try to explain to him, oh yeah, I lost everything I owned in a fire and this kind of sort of survived, and it's kind of a symbol of my stupid sensibility. But I think something clicked for him when he was about 6 and I was outside on our little patio. I was grilling dinner. And I had used the plate to transfer the food from the grill to the kitchen, and I had set it down on our little patio table. And in the process had bumped the table or the plate or something, and it fell off and it broke. And he heard it from the inside and he came running out and he was like, was that your plate? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, he's 6, he goes, that sucks. And I was conflicted at the moment whether to give him a high five or being a bro or admonish him for foul language. But I think all I could muster was, and then he immediately ran inside and I started picking up the mess. And what I didn't know at the time, but I was told later by my wife, is he ran right inside and told her, I know what I want to get Chris for Christmas. And and she unfortunately felt the need to tell me ahead of time. It was a few months away, so I didn't go out and just buy some more. So the surprise was kind of sort of accidentally ruined, but just to see the look on his face when I opened the box, and a set of 4 with cups and bowls and dishes and saucers. He was so proud that he was able to give that something back to me that I had lost, and it's a really proud moment for me, and it was the best gift I ever got. Sorry I went way over, my bad. I know you like